Hi, I have a question regarding protecting and like imports. So like if you're bringing in a product, let's say clothing, and then so you want to protect like that product, but also like the maybe the brand or the name.
Yeah,
How does that work?
yeah. There are 4 or 5 ways you can protect yourself. One is keeping it a secret. On the other end is filing for a patent. In between, you can protect yourselves by getting a really good web address, URL, or a series of them. You can protect yourself by coming up with a fabulous name for your product. You can protect yourself by having powerful strategic partners. You can protect yourself by keeping as much as possible of what you're doing proprietary to yourself. You can protect yourself by having partners who invest in your company be very powerful so nobody wants to fight with them. So there are a whole series of ways to protect yourself besides having patents. Now, if you can't protect yourself, you gotta figure out how can you blast out in the marketplace as quickly as possible, because you're gonna, if it's a good product, you're gonna get copied in 90 to 120 days by someone in China. I mean, I have clients who bring me a product and I love it and it's not patentable, and I'll send them to a patent attorney anyway to see if they can patent it, and they can't. And the first thing we do is we come up with a really great name for the company. We file a trademark on that name. Then we file to form an entity under that name. And then we do everything we can to build a story that allows us to raise a lot of money to get into the marketplace quickly. And that's how, and so you capture your market share before somebody else copies you. I can tell you, I've had clients come out with products and 90 days later, an identical product or almost identical product is already on the marketplace. They may have a different name, but it looks the same. And there's not a lot you can do about that. You can file design patents. They have very little value. You can file trademarks. Trademarking your name can have some real value. You can reserve URLs. Having the right URLs can have some real value. But recognize if your product is really hot, somebody's going to copy you. They're going to buy it and take it to Taiwan or to China directly and make copies of it and resell it, even if they're exactly copying you. We had a client who made a product. It's called the Perfect Push-Up. It's 2 little handlebars that you do push-ups with, and they roll in your arms. And he sold 2 million of them. And there are 28 factories in China making his product for other people, identical product. And he can't stop them. The only way he could stop them is go to a very powerful businessman in China, give that guy exclusive rights to manufacture it, and he'll go around and close down all of the competing plants. And I set him up with a law firm that would help him to do that. And instead he sold off his company at a big discount because the whole marketplace was flooded with identical products to his. And it was a very good product, but the copies weren't as good as his product, by the way. And he just didn't have millions of dollars to fend them off. And they didn't, and some of them were actually packaging it in his package and calling it the same product and copied all of his materials. Illegal, but he had to spend millions of dollars to fight them, which he didn't have. So can you protect yourself? Yes, lots of ways. If you can't file patents, you file trademarks. Maybe there's some part to what you're doing that could be patentable. Maybe you can line up a major player as a partner that gives you a strategic influence over everybody else. That's a good one. Maybe you can have somebody who puts up the money know how to get you into the marketplace. That's a strategic partner. The first people you go to when you have a new product, if you can, is a strategic partner to help you get out there, because it saves a lot of problems. And they're the ones who'll put up the money for you as well. Other questions?
Yes, I have a question about how you value your startup.
Okay, that's a really good question. I'll tell you how you do it. Here's what happens. You talk to everybody that you know who's been involved in the business world. You give them the best shot at what your story is. And then they'll compare your company in their head to other companies that have done similar things. And they'll say, here's the value at which I think you can raise money today. If you want a higher value, here are the things you have to do. I get maybe 15 companies a week that connect with me and say, hey, what do you think my company's worth? Or what do you think of my idea? And sometimes I'll go to the internet and I'll find somebody else who's already done what they think they want to do. Other times I'll see a product that's going to be copied overnight, and the chances of them being able to make anything of it is very, very small, unless they have a really powerful partner doing it alongside of them. But there are ways to protect yourself, and you have to think about what those are. It could be an exclusive channel of distribution, could be a trademark on your name, it could be patenting some small piece of what you're doing, it could be a very powerful partner on your side when you go out into the marketplace, so keep other people out of the market, at least for a while. And it's important for setting your initial value. You'll talk to people, you say, I want to raise $100,000, I'll give you 10% of my company. That values the company at $1 million. 900,000 pre-money, 100,000 raise, $10 million, $1 million post-money, I'll give you 10% of my company. And they may say it's not worth it. And you say, why not? And they'll tell you, and you have to overcome those why nots. You could also go out there and talk about other products that other people have and how they raise their money. There's a lot of knowledge out there amongst VCs, amongst individuals who are involved in startup companies. They're out there and willing to help. Tech Coast Angels in Santa Monica has 200 members. Half of them were my clients at one time or another. And they have people in there, they'll see what you're doing and they'll jump on board at the start for free if they like what you're doing, and then you give them some ownership in your company. So valuing a company is not rocket science. It's, say, comparing oranges to oranges and apples to apples. I have a startup company right now that I'm involved with. They haven't sold a product yet. They're going to get a $100 million pre-money valuation. And the reason is they have a strategic partner who's done tens of millions of dollars of business with related technologies. They have a member of their management team who has raised hundreds of millions of dollars and knows how to play the game. They have an engineer who's come up with a brand new, I can't tell you what it is yet, a brand new product that is similar to what they were doing, but much better. And they figured out how they're going to sell the product into the marketplace. And they brought in a board you can have a board of directors or people who are intimately involved in your company, and you can have advisors who get a little bit of stock in your company and give you their best advice. When I go to start a company with a client, I think about, who do I know who can really give good advice to this person? I'll make introductions. If that person likes them, they'll take a little bit of stock, of 0.1% or 0.25% of stock in the company to be their advisor, and give them 50 years of experience for one person that they don't have to pay any money for. Those people are worth their weight in gold. And you want to find them to help you make good decisions and write a good business plan and bring the value of your company as high as you can, as early as you can, so that you don't wind up giving away the ship. I've had some very successful companies where the founders owned 1% of the company when the company was sold, because they just weren't smart about how they raised money. They didn't accomplish enough each time. They promised things that they couldn't give to people each time. And when they didn't meet their promises, they had to give away more of the company. There's a raising money game out there that you have to have somebody on your team who knows how to do it. And what you have to accomplish to raise your money. Clients will come to me all the time and they'll show me their business plan. And they'll say, can I raise $100,000 for this company? And I'll say no. And they'll say, why not? And I'll say, because you're missing. And I'll name 6 things that they're missing that they have to go back and fill in before they can raise their money for their company. Because if they go out too early to raise their money for their company, they'll wind up giving away too much. And by the time they raise the 3rd and 4th rounds, which most companies do, they won't own anything. So, you set your standards in a thoughtful way. You bring in the smartest people you possibly can as soon as you can, so they can help you to make good decisions. And there are a lot of smart people out there who love getting involved in startups. All the incubators in town have people surrounding them looking for startups. And you can find them at school. You'll find lots of people who say, hey, I'll help you out if you have a good enough idea. And they like you. They have to like you. Somebody comes to me and I talk to them on the phone, and they feel kind of greasy. It's a one-phone conversation. I won't talk to them again. Somebody calls me up and they're exciting and they love their idea and they're doing good stuff. I'll tell them what to do next. And if they go and do that, I'll meet with them and I'll have lunch with them. By the way, anyone who wants to have lunches, call up, come to Westwood, and we can go out to lunch. I'm happy to help you. Make sure you have something solid to bring to me, and I'll give you my best advice over lunch. They'll give you my contact information after our session. But the real issue is put together as many smart people as you can, because they'll help you make your idea glow. They'll help you fill in the gaps. They'll help you to think as an investor thinks so that you can raise your money. They'll help you to stay away from bad people and bring in good people. They'll help you understand definitions of new concepts that are brought to you that you haven't learned yet, because they come up every single day. And it's important to, at every stage of your business's development, get the best advice that you can. And as a startup, you can't afford a lot of money. So you have to get people to like you and love what you're doing and believe in you to get involved without getting paid, and maybe for a little bit of stock. And that's my most successful entrepreneurs, and I got a whole bunch of them who made an awful lot of money, were able to mount a really good idea and package it in a way with help from a lot of people on the outside that allowed them to raise money without giving away too much. And at every stage, make the right moves to use the money properly to grow the company. I mean, one of my clients, biggest one I've been involved in from scratch, they came up with the idea of a technology to allow you to send very high-level signal over copper wire versus fiber optics. And it took them 5 years to develop the technology, and they raised $3 million when they started. They did not need any more money. That company just sold for $37.4 billion. Now, did it take time along the way? Yes. Did they run into problems along the way? Yes. Did they have very smart people at their side at every step of the way? Absolutely. Not just us. We're a little piece of the puzzle. They brought in all the best people they could at every stage to make all the right decisions to be able to build a $37 billion company. So can you take a little startup and make it into a big company? Yep. We start plus or minus 100 new companies a year in our office. 10 or 15 of them get going. And most of them raise enough money to get started. I mean, enough money to get started is $20 or $30 or $40,000. You don't have to raise millions of dollars to get started. And there are lots of ways, once you've gotten started and accomplished a lot, to get people to join you for very little money and some stock, or for stock only. And those people are out there. They're looking for their next big hit. And we have a whole bunch of serial entrepreneurs who've been involved in 10 or 15 or 20 people, companies that we know, and they know how to play this game. And you want to get somebody like that on your team as early as you can attract them, because they'll help you not to make mistakes. One smart person on your board of advisors who owns 1/4 of a point in your company can change the whole course of your company. And of course, then you give them more stock. And we have a lot of companies like that, where they handed out a little bit of stock to somebody, and the person brought so much value that they gave them a whole bunch of stock in the company. And it's a nice way to build your management team. More questions?
So I recently formed a corporation, and what I found out is that there's another corporation that has a trademark for the name of my product, for the name of their corporation. It's an industrial corporation. My product is an app. What I'm wondering is, I just did a separate name for my corporation, but can I still use that same trademarked corporation name for my product as a subsidiary?
Let me tell you what the risk is. If you're not in the same marketplace, if you're not going after the same customer, if you're not in any way in competition with them, legally, you can probably use it. But if they decide they don't want you to, they're a big company, they have lots of money, they'll put you out of business. So better to change your name early on than to take on a name that you think somebody else is going to sue you on. I had a client who built televisions in Taiwan, really good ones, flat panels. This is 15 years ago. It's one of the first to bring in major quantities of flat panels. And his company name was Proton, P-R-O-T-O-N. And there was a company that also sold electronic supplies called Proton without the R. They sued them and were about to put them out of business because the name was so similar. The product was not directly in competition with us. My client wound up flying to Taiwan with a suitcase with $300,000 in greenbacks and handed it to the guy to be able to end the lawsuit. And then he had to change his name, changed it from Proton to Spectronic. And we spent 3 months making sure that name was clear. So when you're a startup and somebody else has the name, it just doesn't pay to fight them. And you should check it out right away. He was going to change his name to Sovy, S-O-V-Y. And we contacted Sony directly and said, has nothing to do with you. The trademark won't look like yours. We can do it. They said, you're right, you can do it. The day after your first product is sold in the United States, you will be sued. So we came up with a different name. So instead of fighting the crowd, work hard and come up with a different name. It's not worth it if it's a big company.
Thank you.
You're welcome.